Righto, Taylor Hunt. Come on up, young Taylor. He's our inland fisheries manager. He does a hell of a lot of work talking to fishers. Half the people in this room will know him. I'll back it in. He's a research scientist. He's had 17 years with the VFA. Please, Taylor, welcome.
Thanks, Gus. He absolutely nailed it. We might have made a mistake and told him it started at 10, so he's done a great job to pull that together. Fantastic to be here with you today. Maybe 400 people in the room to celebrate native fish, and I've got a pretty good news to share with you today about Victoria's native fish resurgence. But before I talk about that, I just want to give you a little bit of context, which is the very brief story of our native fish, which I think Gus touched on it. Murray cod fishing and our native fishing hasn't always been this good. And I want to thank Dr. Stuart Rowland, who's got his stand out here, The Codfather. What I'm about to share with you is some of his extracts from his book. So, the history of our native fish. Of course, our native fish and traditional owner people had a rich history together for thousands of years. But the first accounts that we heard of our native fish were from the early settlers. And they were amazed at the abundance of native fish in our rivers, the sizes of them, the colours and the delicacy. And there's an early sketch from Major Mitchell of Murray cod in 1831. And some of the quotes that Stu pulled out in his book talk about the abundance of fish. Charles Sturt said, "The river was so full of fish that they swarmed at the sides." And John Oxley said, "The river is rich in the most excellent fish, procurable in the utmost abundance, immense size and beauty of their colours." So we're talking about our waterways teeming with native fish, Murray cod, golden perch, Macquarie perch, blackfish, lots and lots of them. And of course, the early settlers and us, we use these fish for food and for trade. And some of these pictures might be quite uncomfortable to look at now, but native fish played a really important role in building Victoria and building Australia. And that was life and that was survival. Not only did we fish our native fish very heavily, but we changed the environment big time. So we built dams and weirs to manage water for farming and irrigation. We de-snagged our rivers so paddle steamers could move things around. We farmed the land and deforested, and we put cattle in the streams, and we introduced exotic species such as carp. And like Gus said, by the 1970s and part of the 80s, Murray cod and our native fish were really hard to come by, and things were looking pretty bleak. But that was when the tide started turning on our native fish. And people like John Lake and Stu Rowland and Jeff Gooley and Phil Cadwallader, they pioneered the breeding of our native fish, and big restocking programs started. We stopped commercially fishing our native fish, and we changed our recreational fishing practices. We got rid of drum nets and set lines, and there was an increased focus on the environment as well. And so by 2003, things were better, but not that great. You know, it was estimated that native fish populations were about 10% of pre-European levels. Well, 20 years on, pretty much today, our native fish are not only coming back, they are surging back. And we know this from a few reasons, which I'm going to walk you through. But first and foremost are the amazing angling reports, which we get from all of you and from fishers right across the state. And let me walk you through some of these. So when we first started the Murray Codference series in 2016, we talked about Lake Eildon. When would it come of age? Well, it's well and truly come of age. Now, people come from all over Australia to catch beautiful big Murray cod like this all the time. This fish was 103 pounds caught by Chris Galea. Absolute behemoth of a fish, and I think Kate Norman's going to share some of her catches today. Over at Lake Hume at the moment, we've got heaps of big yellow belly being caught. And some big catches. Cindy Rapsey talked about she got 19 and dropped 8. The muskets got big numbers, and these are big fish getting caught. At Epilock, it's always been known as a great yellow belly fishery, but we're seeing more Murray cod come through now, and some really big fish as well. At Rocklands, we're seeing beautiful cod now over 80 centimetres, yellow belly to 60 centimetres, and the colours on them are just amazing. And some of the yellow belly are over 5 kilos already, and it's just going to get better and better. We're actually seeing Murray cod fisheries pop up all over the state, whether it be Taylor's Lake, the Coliban Lakes, Cairn Current, Melton Reservoir, there's Silvio with his cod, and yellow belly as well. Loddon, the Campaspe, Cairn Current, the Wimmera is producing amazing yellows, and some of our more threatened fish are coming back as well. So trout cod in the Ovens and the King, beautiful trout cod caught by Joe Dobson, and some really big models like 70 and 80 centimetre trout cod. And of course, Macquarie perch, which we'll talk about soon, and some familiar faces and a young Robbie there as well. In fact, nearly all of our native fish species, we are getting great reports on them. Australian bass, estuary perch, catfish, blackfish as well. And lots of anglers are telling us this. We did a survey last summer and asked fishers about their Murray cod fishing over the time that they'd been fishing for Murray cod. And on the bottom line here is the decades. If you're fishing in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, and we asked you to rate the Murray cod fishing at that time. And the important thing to look at here is the green and how it's increased. In the 70s and the 80s, about half of fishers said it was good or very good. And now we're talking about over 70% of fishers are saying it is good or very good. So lots of people are experiencing this. And at the VFA, we are too. We love it. And Gus is very modest. He's a gun fisher. He's a bass fisherman in particular. He's caught 50 centimetre bass, 55s, and now he's chasing a 60. Trav, our CEO, if Travis is catching cod, you know they are coming back. That is the best evidence that I can give you today. But right across the team, we love it. Belinda Lorenzini up there. Luke O'Sullivan, our Director of Fisheries Management, with a beautiful 60 centimetre cod. Anthony, he loves his carp. And look how happy he is in that photo over there with a carp. There's myself and Mark Adams. Mark's the newest member of the team, manages the stocking program. And believe it or not, that is Brian's largest wild cod that he has ever caught. And I knew I'd get a rise out of those guys, so I did put some real photos in there. There's Anthony with a good Rocklands cod, and that's Brian's actual biggest cod, straight out of Arcadia Hatchery. Now, some of the skeptics are going to say, are there really more fish around? We've got better technology. We've got live scope. We can catch them better, It's easier to target them, and that is true. Live scope is helping people catch more fish. Some people might say, hey, it's social media. We're blowing up all these catches on social media and it makes it look like there's lots of cod and yellow belly and native fish. The thing that gives me confidence in all of these reports of native fish is our scientific monitoring is telling us the same thing. So when we survey 9 rivers around the state for our native fish, this is a general trend in that bottom left-hand corner. From the 90s to the 2000s, we're going up for nearly all of our fish. And it's not perfect curve like that Ovens River, but most of them are going up. We rate Murray cod and golden perch good. And some of our waters like yellow belly in the Wimmera, they're at record levels. Trout cod in the Goulburn are better than we've ever seen since the 70s. So it really is a golden time for our native fish. Our native fishing is as good as it's been in memory since the 70s. We are really fortunate. And we know you guys have a deep emotional connection with native fish because we have it too at the VFA. And clearly the love for our native fish is so strong to have, maybe 400 people in a room talking about it today, like Gus said. And so today, our 7th Murray Codference, we are celebrating this native fish resurgence. And we're going to hear from some awesome speakers. I think we have the hottest talent in native fishing at the moment talking today. Lubin and Kate and Colby, all the experts and Robbie. And we've got some of the VFA team as well. Trav's going to talk about carp. Dunk's going to talk about the big build and our new hatcheries and all our infrastructure. Caitlin from Ozfish about habitat. Jared's on his way. He's going to talk about the conservation species. And Dr. Corey Green's got some really cool cod tracking work. So it's going to be a great day. And we're celebrating these native fish coming back. Something I'd like for us to think about today is why are they back in the last 20 years? These are the reasons why I think our native fish are coming back so well. So what's driving this native fish resurgence? Well, first of all, native fish stocking. You probably hear a lot about stocking from the VFA, and we do a lot of it. And the reason why we need to do a lot of it is because a lot of our habitat is still got lots of modifications and barriers. So somewhere like Lake Eildon, we would like our native fish to breed, but because we've got these barriers and weirs and changes, unfortunately, they don't do it. And it's going to be hard to get around this. But by stocking fish, we can have fish populations in places where they don't breed, and where they do breed, they can do it themselves. In terms of native fish stocking, we are stocking more native fish than all of the other states and territories combined. So 9.52 million native fish in the last year. And here are some of the big numbers you can see up there. This video was put together by Lauren Hall from our comms team, who's here today. And I think it's nice to show all the different species going in. Both of our popular recreational species, golden perch, Murray cod and bass, and some of our more threatened species like trout cod and macquarie perch. So a power of fish. This is not a new thing either. If we look back in terms of native fish stocking, just in the last 4 years, we've put in 30 million native fish, which is an incredible number. If you go right back to 2000, we're talking 74 million native fish. And the reason why that's relevant is our native fish are really quite long-lived species. So golden perch live to 25 plus. Bass and estuary perch and Murray cod go into their 40s. So these fish that were stocked in the 2000s, they're still around today. And the fish that we stocked last year and the last 4 years, they're going to be here for the next 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 decades. So we're really setting ourselves up at the moment for this native fish resurgence to continue. We're putting those fish into over 200 waters around the state, so really spreading them out. And the reason we can do that is because of the awesome work that goes on from our staff at Snobs Creek Hatchery and Arcadia. And you'll hear more about this from Duncan and Jared today. But put simply, Snobs Creek is our traditional hatchery. It used to grow, and it still does grow, all of our trout and salmonids, but increasingly we grow macquarie perch and trout cod there, and some of our small-bodied conservation species at our conservation hatchery. And here at Arcadia, just down the road, the new kid on the block, it's going to be the biggest fish farm in Australasia, and it grows our Murray cod, golden perch, silver perch, and it's in the perfect climate for it. So we're very fortunate we've got these facilities, and they're getting bigger and better. So fish stocking's the first thing that I think is driving this resurgence. The second thing is repairing the environment that has been hammered over the years, but there's been a lot of work gone into this through your fishing license fees. So $7.1 million of your fishing license fees has gone into projects to re-snag rivers, and we know cod love snags, so important. We're also utilising logs from storms and bushfires, and they're going in and making a huge difference. And the environment side of government are pulling down those barriers to fish migration. They're putting flows down the river to stimulate native fish to spawn as well. So all of that is making a huge difference. The regulations that we've got are definitely working. So the slot limit has been an amazing success. We protect those little fish so they've got an opportunity to grow. If you want to take a feed in the slot, you can, and it's a nice size fish. And all those fish over 75 centimetres are protected for the rest of their lives. And we know that's so important because those fish over 75, they're the better breeders. They produce more eggs, bigger eggs. They pass on the big fish genes and they supercharge the whole system. So that's been an amazing success. And in places where they breed, it works really well. Where they don't breed, we get more trophy catch and release fishing. And lots of anglers in this room helped bring the slot limit in. And there's your favourite photo, Robbie. You knew I'd put it in here somewhere. We have also opened year-round Murray cod fisheries around the state. And this is to give people a chance to fish for cod year-round in places where Murray cod don't breed. We stock these waters with lots of fish. And it takes the pressure off the river systems where we know Murray cod do breed. So that is making a difference as well. And the last really big thing that is really helping here is your behaviour. Angler behaviour has gone full circle. From the days of drum nets and set lines and poaching and all sorts of things, that's long gone. Angler compliance is really high with the regulations. Most anglers do the right thing. Poaching is very low. We've got Gus and Loz, our fisheries officers here today, that can talk to you about your questions. And occasionally, they catch someone doing the wrong thing, but they will say most people are doing the right thing, which is great. We now know that 95% of Murray cod are released. You can still take one for a feed, but more and more people are choosing to let them go. And they're not only choosing to let them go, they're taking care of them when they let them go as well. So they're getting in the water, they're supporting their belly, they're following these care for cod principles, and everyone seems to be jumping on that. So that's really helping. So these things, I think, are driving our native fish resurgence at the moment that we need to keep going with, and they're making a huge difference. And Rec Fishers, you guys are part of this every step of the way through your fishing licence fees, through talking to government about what's important, and through your handling and your behaviour. It's really, really impressive. So what's next? Well, there's a couple of innovations in particular I really quickly want to share with you, and there's lots more information in your bags. But we are relocating mature threatened fish. We're translocating fish where they don't belong and helping them to build new populations. We've done that for catfish, trout cod, and Macquarie perch. So have a read about that in your book. And we're also doing some really innovative research with lots of partners, New South Wales Fisheries, FRDC, to crack the code on Macquarie perch. And this is one species that we haven't been able to breed consistently in the hatchery with hatchery broodstock, unlike Murray cod and our other fish. So we've got the world's best people trying to work this out. And a little progress update. One of the things we think might crack the code is if we feed the Macquarie perch the right thing in the hatchery. So we've got Deakin University, the best fish nutritionists. They've designed 2 special diets in that top left-hand corner. They've got insects that the Macquarie perch eat in their natural environment. They've crushed them up. They've made them gelatinous and soft so they're not hard. And they're feeding them to Macquarie perch in the tanks. And this is a video of them here.
Very camera shy.
And they're like puppy dogs. They love the food. They love the new diet. They are putting on weight. And next week, we're going to try and spawn with them for the first time and hopefully crack the code and close that loop on breeding Macquarie perch with captive broodfish. And if we can do that, we'll produce more eggs. And this is a video that Steve Vidler shot at Snobs Creek last week. And if we've got more eggs, we can stock more fish. And instead of stocking 50,000 or 100,000 Macquarie perch, we hope we can do 500,000 or 1 million Macquarie perch and do the numbers like we do for Murray cod and golden perch and really bring them back. So that's pretty exciting. We're going to talk about some other things today which will continue the resurgence. If we could reduce carp, that would make a huge difference to our native fish and keep us moving in the right direction. We're now in a position where we could delist Murray cod. They're going so well, they're not a threatened species anymore. And I think that would be a really good thing because it would give us hope that we can bring back these other species, blackfish, trout cod, Macquarie perch, and some of these other small threatened species. So that's a really positive one. So I'm going to finish up here, but I hope you get the message that we love this native fish resurgence, and it's on. It's an exciting time. Hasn't always been like this, but it's all moving in the right direction. We're really excited by it. Rec fishers are playing a key role, so let's keep it going. Let's support what works and look for more opportunities to do it. I think the future for our native fish is really bright, and I'm looking forward to the day ahead. So thanks so much. And just one little note, yesterday we did a tour of the hatchery at Arcadia. We wanted to get a photo with the big cod, and the Queenslanders decided to jump on its head. So, classic. Can't take them out of Queensland. Thank you very much.